narinig ko. Ibatas tayo because it's not a shipping company. It is insurance company. YouTube, kumusta? Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening po sa inyong lahat. Subject, Maritime Surveillance. What's up guys? Welcome to my Maritime Detective Educational video. For today, we will be discussing fundamentals of Maritime Detective Investigation and Intelligence regarding informants, which is the objectives, functions, and classifications. So for today, ang i-discuss naman natin for this video discussion, we will be discussing Maritime Surveillance. Let me introduce myself. I am Wilbur L. Bangotan, Marines, a seafarer, also known as the Professor. Okay, without much further more ado, let's start the video. Objectives. It ain't money. It ain't sex. It ain't fame. Failures are known. Success are not. It believes in good and evil, but it chooses good. It believes in right and wrong, but it chooses right. That's how it takes to be. So first, maritime surveillance. So for maritime surveillance, kapag sinabi nating maritime surveillance, it is a clandestine and continued watching of persons, places, or objects to obtain information concerning with activities and identifies individuals in maritime industry, illegal activities, operation. So, ibig sabihin, si maritime surveillance daw, ang keywords dyan is clandestine or covert and continued watching of maritime employers or maritime employees or pagsunod sa mga taong may illegal na o pagtingin sa mga shipman nila or sa mga barko nila for the main purpose of obtaining information concerning the activities to identify the individual or the identity of the illegal ship management operation. So, other term or other definition is an act of carefully watching someone or something, especially in order to prevent or detect illegal ship management operation, and is mostly done by the maritime detective. So what are the terms used in maritime surveillance? Para mas madali nating maintindihan yung konsepto ng maritime surveillance and yung mechanics niya, let us first be familiarized to the terms used in maritime surveillance. So first is Maritime Pre-Surveillance Conference. Ito yung meeting na ginagawa among team members before the actual maritime surveillance, just to make sure that all of the members are all in the same page at alam nila or kumbaga may uniformity sa gagawin nila. As to number 2 is a maritime surveillance plan. So these are the outline of blueprint on how to conduct the maritime surveillance, or ito yung plano kung saan ito yung susundin ng mga team members. And usually, ito yung mga nire-run or nire-review sa pre-maritime surveillance conference or nire-remind sila. So ito yung plano natin for the maritime surveillance operation. So, this should be abide strictly or should be observed strictly. Next, Target Ship Manning Agency. It refers to the ship manning agency of operation of maritime surveillance activities. Saan bang ship manning agency gaganapin ang maritime surveillance activities? So example, let us say, kapag sinabi natin sa Quirino Taft Avenue, Manila City, what is the name of that particular place? Particular ship manning agency in Quirino Taft Avenue in Manila is the Target Ship Manning Agency. Well, of course, dahil sa lugar dyan ay magkakadikit-dikit ang mga shipping agencies. Hindi lang iisa ang ship agency sa lugar, as isa lang ang subject doon ng maritime surveillance. So, kailangan full detailed and confirm yung address, area, in the name of that subject shipping agency. For example, for maritime surveillance, ito yung presidente na tao na mamahala sa ship agency na ito. Ito yung klase ng illegal operation nila. O o mga bagay-bagay na illegal subject for maritime surveillance or yung bantayan or yung susundan nila. As to that, it refers to the chronological record of activities that subject had or took place in the target shipping agency. Ibig sabihin, itong log, ito yung sinusulatan ng maritime surveillance in order para magkaroon sila ng proper notes kung ano yung ginagawa ni subject during maritime surveillance operation. As a maritime surveillant, ito naman yung taong seafarer na gumagawa ng maritime surveillance at sa sea base, international, to land base, local of the motherland who maintains watch. As a convoy, it is an associate of the subject. Ang ibig sabihin, kakampiyan ng subject who follows the subject in an attempt to detect kung may sunod ba sa kanila. So usually, si convoy, ito yung kakampi ni subject na ang kanilang purpose is to detect if meron ba silang maritime surveillance, sumusubaybay sa kanila. Question: as being not part of the maritime industry, is it possible you can be a convoy? Pwede. Because maritime industry is a very huge administry. Kaya unlimited. Kaya lang po, exploited in short. That's why everybody knows everybody except these fruits of the poisonous tree. They know you, but you don't know them. So, expose, perform. So you will know them para everybody is happy.
Show me.
Hindi lang sila ang nagha-happy-happy at tayo ay nalulugi-lugi. Payag kayo? Panlulugi kayo? Kayo ang agrabyado? Sila ang may utang sa'yo? Dapat lang singilin mo sila. Tama ba? As to contact any person with whom the subject to speaks, to whom he passes articles, or from whom he receives articles. Ito yung tinatawag natin na contacts. Mga naging kasalamuhan ni subject na may mga nagkunayban sa kanya during maritime surveillance operation. Kaya watch out. Be very careful po, lalo na sa mga hindi company lawyers, sa mga hindi company doctors, outsiders of the maritime industry. Sorry po sa pagbabanggit, pero kailangan po nila ng tamang information regard po sa mga bagay-bagay. Meaning, private lawyers and private doctors na nagawang to turn puppet ni subject para magawang instruments at tools to be used against his victim seafarers. And that is arts and science of the enemy respondents. Dahil meron tayong tinatawag na ignorance of the law excuses no one, which means illegal investigation. And that is under fruits of the poisonous tree. Lalo na po if you use gadgets or other similar things used for baggings, for obtaining informations without the permission of the judge in the court of law. Nakakasuhan po tayo ng illegal wiretappings under the court rules of law, section blah blah blah. If without written permission po from the court of judge. And that is a convoy from the pangmalakasan ng kalabang mortal ni Maritime Detective Seafarer. The connections, the connivance of the enemy. Ganun talaga. Ganyan talaga. Yan ang labanan. And that is all the matters, period. As the decoy, it is a person or object used by the subject in an attempt to escape the eyes of the maritime surveillance. Ayan. Tulad ng una nating nabanggit na non-maritime industry, pwede maging decoy. Because maritime is a very huge administration. So usually, actually, sa pamamagitan ng panlilin lang niya kay maritime surveillance. At hindi na siya masusundan as the subject dahil si maritime surveillance ay napaliktad niyang naging subject equals subject to subject. Private doctor of the victim, complainant seafarer who turns to be undercover seafarer agent at the same time. Right place at the right time. Trained by the fucking politicianship agency employers themselves. galing Europe. Pasensya na mo. Nakalimutan ko, nasa Pilipinas pala kami. Next is maid. When we say maid, the maritime surveillance is being recognized by the maritime subject or maritime convoy. So this means na burn out na. Kasi na-detect na at nakita na ni subject, aware na siya na may sumusunod sa kanilang mga authorities. As to lost, this is the time when the surveillant does not know the whereabouts of his subject. Or ibig sabihin, naligaw na si maritime surveillant itong si subject. Si decoy ay naging nabatagumpay sa panlilinlang para maligaw niya si maritime surveillant. Yan ang gusto pong sabihin. And the subject is lost when the subject eluded him. Now, let's go to the types of maritime surveillance. In these types of maritime surveillance, it is very important to know because this is the techniques, tactics, and strategies of the P&I insurance company. Mga kabaros, when you are claiming your compensation, fucking claims, and benefits, if ever, tanongin mo sarili nyo, will they pay you gladly, paying your P&I insurance? But why? There is a company lawyer na kailangan pang makikisawsaw sa iyong shipping manning agency. That's why, likewise, you need a private lawyer for you. Kung babayaran ka ng tamang babayaran sa iyo ng employer mo or nakikipagtawaran. Kaya kung bakit? Nangailangan pa ng company lawyer ang company employer mo? Like simple questions, mga tanong, will they ever pay you gladly? Na company lawyer mo na ang nagsasabi sa iyo na as victim seafarer, kanila mismo? Tinutulungan ka namin. Kung sa NLRC ka magfa-file, wala kang makukuha kasi CBA ang iyong case. Kaya NCMB, hindi ka pwede sa NLRC dahil wala kang CBA. Lalo, very fast ang settlement namin, blah blah blah. Which means, ang employer mo, ayaw niyang magbayad ng tamang babayaran sa'yo. Kung kaya, mayroon tinatawag na tribunal. A dispute between two parties.
Yeah!
Kung wala kang CPA, ay kung LRC.
Yeah!
Kahit may CPA ka, kung ayaw magbayad ng employer mo ng CPA, well, you got no choice but to bring your case to an LRC. Ibig sabihin, magsabong muna kayo dyan. Sa puti, sa pula, sa meron, sa wala. Pag meron na, pag sa meron ang nanalo, saka ka babalik sa NCMB for CBA. Garantisado, tiyak, walang lusot, ibibigay, babayaran sa'yo. P&I insurance ng CBA, Collective Bargaining Agreement, P&I insurance. Pag sa wala, ang nanalo, steady ka na dyan sa NLRC. Dahil nandyan ang nakakahon na tamang claim, compensation namang babayaran sa'yo ng mandurugas na employer mo. Kapag fraud medical record certificate ang problema, automatic dalhin mo dyan sa PRC Investigation Unit.
Yeah!
Kaya if sinabi ng employer kay employee na hanap ka na ng abogado mo para sa P&I insurance, automatic mayroong scam sa ganapan. Kaya lawyer for both parties, employer and employees ay kailangan. Hanap ka na ng lawyer mo at dapat maritime lawyer ha? Para alam niya ang P&I insurance, pera-pera settlement namin sa death injury program, P&I Seafarers Insurance. Ayan. Kaya, let's now proceed to types of maritime surveillance against employers surveillance. First is fixed maritime surveillance or tinatawag na maritime stakeout. So it is conducted when a person, object, or activity being watched is not expected to move from one area. So, ibig sabihin po, nasa ship manning agency lamang si subject. So, therefore, nasa fixed point lang sila. Where, in the maritime surveillance, may however from one vantage position point to another in the immediate area kung kaya minomonitor ka din ni maritime subject. And who is the maritime subject? Yung mga nakaupo sa ship agency mo, employers. Maritime employers, maritime subject. Kasi sila ang respondent, kaya sila ang subject. Kung saan si maritime surveillant nagpupunta. Kung ano or sino mga katransaksyon ni maritime surveillant. So ibig sabihin, pwede din namang gumalaw-galaw si subject. we can still consider the subject as a fixed surveillance. So, surveillance ka din niya ng mga surveillant niya. Pero sa immediate area lang ng kanyang ship manning agency through network contact operations. Pag-monitor at confirm niya kung saan hospital pupunta si maritime surveillant ang mga convoy ngayong subject. Tatawagan naman ngayon yan ng hospital na katransaksyon mo for blah blah blah, etc. etc. So, if may fixed maritime surveillance tayo, guys, mga kabaros, yung tinatawag natin na stakeout, meron naman tayong tinatawag na maritime moving surveillance or maritime shadowing. So, a moving maritime surveillance is conducted when a person, object, or activity being watched move from one place to another. So the maritime surveillance may however move from one vantage point to in the immediate area. I-text and tawagan ka para makausap kung nasaang area or location ka na. Ngayon, from calling fixed surveillance to moving maritime surveillance. So, other term of maritime moving surveillance is maritime tailing, or they call it maritime shadowing, which is which. Ito naman yung pagsunod sa subject na gumagalaw. So usually, ito yung operations that is for conveyance. Or nasa travel, or tumatravel, or nagtatransport, or conveying si subject. Under maritime surveillance, moving surveillance is the open tail moving surveillance and noted as rough surveillance. So the subject is most likely aware of the maritime surveillance. Ibig pong sabihin, aware si subject or ito yung tinatawag na made. Na usually, na ibig sabihin, nakakakutob-kutob na si subject na may sumusunod-sunod sa kanya as to close tail. Maritime surveillance, also known as the time-tight maritime surveillance from the word time, the name maritime itself. So dito sa closed tail maritime surveillance, walang pakialam si maritime surveillant kung siya ay mahuli or magkaroon ng maid or maging aware si subject na siya ay sinusundan. The very aim of this closed tail maritime surveillance is not to lose the subject. So dapat hanggang maaari ay magkadikit na magkadikit sila. Or magkalapit na magkalapit as to lose tail. Maritime surveillance, it refers to the tailing commonly employed if the maritime surveillant wants to remain undetected. So si closed tail maritime surveillance, wala siyang pakialam kung siya ay mahuhuli. It's just kailangan lang hindi mawala si subject sa kanyang mga mata. As for loose tail maritime surveillance, it refers to the tailing commonly employed if the subject maritime surveillance wants to remain undetected. Now, let's go to aerial maritime surveillance. So this type of maritime surveillance is done using helicopters or other aerial devices. So aerial, ibig sabihin, watching over sa ere. This is commonly employed in the areas that is not accessible to foot or vehicle surveillance. So ito yung usually gumagamit ng drone. Ibig sabihin, kinokontrol na lang siya ng authorities itong drone na pumupunta mismo sa target na ship manning agency to watch over. At yan ang mga observation sa ere. As to technical maritime surveillance, the maritime surveillance uses communications and electronic eavesdropping devices such as wiretaps, tracking devices, beepers, and electronic hardwares, gadget system, and equipment in information. So, usually, gumagamit siya ng electronical gadgets or gadgets like cell phones, androids, blah blah blah, in order to obtain informations. Next is audio electronic surveillance. Under the technical maritime surveillance, ito yung employment of bagging or wiretapping device para makapag-intrude siya. Like wiring, nakatapping sa iyong katawan, inclined, at your shoulder, at or above elbow, depende sa design ng wiretappings. Ginagamit ang mga ito para makapag-intrude siya ng communication sa subject. Kung napanood nyo po yung Hollywood movie na The Departed, na pinagbibidahan ni Leonardo DiCaprio, na isa siyang police undercover as member ng mafia group syndicate ni Jack Nicholson, at ang kalaban nitong si Leonardo DiCaprio ay police detective naman na si Matt Damon. Undercover naman siya ng big boss ng mafia si Jack Nicholson, itong si Matt Damon, sa law enforcement ng pulisya. Ayan ang mga gamit nila, mga electronic devices, ganyan na ganyan, such above we have just mentioned, used by assets just to obtain nor gain information sa kalaban. As to bagging is eavesdropping. Any communications or conversation with the aid of any bag devices. Bag is a form of electronic device placed in an establishment to record, receive, or transmit conversation. So usually, ito yung dinidikit sa kwarto or sa ilalim ng lamesa in order to have an access kung sino yung mga kinakausap ni subject. As to wiretapping naman, ito yung tinatap or ini-intercept sa telepono or cellphone in order to listen or record the conversation. It is the act of listening secretly to any conversation who are within the same premise as to the person who intends to listen to the conversation. So ito yung tinatawag natin na eavesdropping. Next topic, we move now to casing. So in this part of the discussion is maritime casing. So dito kay maritime casing, it is the process of inspecting places to determine its suitability for operational use in the maritime.